Hello, hello.
Oh, how are you?
I'm doing well. I am Ozie Cargile. We're going to get started here in just a moment. Just want to give everybody a chance to come in. See some beautiful, familiar faces.
Morning. Sorry, afternoon for us, morning for you.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Ozie Cargile. I'm a composer, developer, and I deal a lot with technology and different things of that nature. So I'm glad to be here to demystify AI for those of us who really want to take advantage of this with respect to getting funding and, not just funding, but being able to present ourselves to any host of organizations and opportunities that really require this kind of technology. And with that, I want to turn it over to Tenay Hankins, who's going to give you some information about herself and the program today.
Why, thank you, Ozie. And forgive me, you all, I have to read from a script because I want to make sure that everything is covered because this is being recorded for your future use. And good afternoon. I'm Tenay Hankins. I'm chairperson and CEO of Joint Cities Development Corp. And I like to start with appreciations. First and foremost, thank you for your time and trusting us enough to take this training and for working to get your business to the next level. Okay. Thank you to our Collaboration for Power and Profit partners. Some of you may know Collaboration for Power and Profit. That is our motto. That is our purpose. That is our mission. Thank you, Ozie, for agreeing to do this training. Bill Foster, the president of the Jazz Network Foundation, and Gerald Davis, the president of the Thursday Luncheon Groups. They are also partners in making sure that this training happened. This event is also possible through the support of MNA, the Michigan Nonprofit Association, as well as the state of Michigan. I want you all to remember this is Black History Month, but every month is Black History Month. And it would seem appropriate that we also thank our ancestors, because after all, they are the ones who taught us that we don't need a job, we need revenue. And those are completely different concepts. They also told us that the only permanent job is self-employment. And that is the backbone of all entrepreneurs, particularly Black entrepreneurs, and the organizations that are associated with giving this training. Your mics will be muted throughout the whole training. We want to make sure that we can get through as much as possible. You'll be able to be interactive and respond through the chats. If something is not covered, we're going to create a PDF that'll be available, as well as the recorded training will be online, and on our websites, you'll get a copy, etc. So please put your questions in the chat, any concerns in the chat, and we'll try our best to address as many of them as possible during the presentation. Okay. I have my notebook. I'm ready. Okay. Let's go, Ozie.
Here we go. Here
I'm
we
a
go.
participant now. I'm out the loop.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank
Okay,
you so
so
much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's just get a quick show of hands, or maybe you can put it in the chat of who's got some experience with AI versus who does not. I think that's a very important metric because we're all starting at different stages. So we've got some hands raised that seem like they've got some experience with AI. The first thing that I want to talk about with respect to AI is overcoming the fear and the intimidation of this platform. There's a lot of information out there that saying AI is going to take jobs, is going to change the industry. Well, yes, it is going to change the industry. Certain jobs that, we had to do, we won't have to do those jobs anymore, because this technology will allow us to streamline that process. And that's just been the course of human history. At one point, we were, horses and carriages. Now we have cars. So as technology advances, it's incumbent upon us to not be afraid of it and to embrace it. And I think AI is particularly special because I don't think the powers that be really knew how much of an advantage this could be, particularly for Black people and people of color. We have systemically been denied opportunities, particularly around grant funding, because maybe we didn't have the right presentation, the right nomenclature, what to say, how to say it, the ease of use with being able to access um, funding because our grant presentations were not exactly what we needed them to be. So one key advantage of AI is it allows you to get in there and to be able to say it the way you need to say it, have the information to present yourself, and do all of that with a single text prompt. So this is if you use social media, if you use email, anything like that, this is going to be exactly in line with that kind of format. You're just going to be typing and texting to this bot, and it's going to respond to you in kind. So this is going to be a hands-on presentation. If you're on your computer and you have access to your browser, pull it up, so that you'll be able to follow along with us as we go through. Of course, as Tenay said, this is going to be recorded and made available afterwards. So if you're not able to keep up, that's okay. You'll be able to listen to this and watch this, and follow the presentation along at your own time and leisure. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the advantages of AI. And to do that, I'm going to share my screen. So you're going to see exactly what I see. Right now, I'm on the ChatGPT website. So if you want to go to chat.openai.com, you can get to this website. This is what it looks like when you come up to the website. And all you're going to be doing is, if you don't have an account, you're going to be signing up. And in my particular case, since I already have an account, I will be logging in. Now, it's important to know that there are two types of accounts with ChatGPT. There is the free account that everybody has access to and anyone can use. So you just sign up and you get ready to go. But as you're signing up, you may be offered the opportunity to have a paid account. Now, the paid account is $20 a month at this particular time in history. And what that allows you to do is it gives you a more advanced version of ChatGPT. So the free version is version 3.5 right now. It's pretty good, and it'll be able to do everything that you need to do in terms of helping you with your funding and all that kind of a thing. But version 4 allows for some extra features. For example, the bot can search the internet, so it can do internet searches for you, internet research for you. And it also has access to plugins and other custom features. It can generate images and that kind of a thing. So if you want those extra features, which I definitely recommend, please go ahead and sign up for the paid account. Either way, I'm going to log in right now. I typically log in with my Google because it's easier that way. But it's moving slow here, so let's just refresh it. There we go. All right, so I presume that everyone's had a chance to, if you're following along, go to chat.openai.com, and this is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is a pre-trained generative transformer. What does that mean? That means he's been trained on words, he's been trained on the internet, he's been trained on text. And transformer means that he takes the text that you give to him, it goes through his brain, and then he determines what text should come out. So the main thing that you want to understand when you're working with this kind of a chat bot is what's called prompt engineering. The quality of your text to the bot will determine the quality of your response. Now, it's going to be generally pretty good in terms of responding, even if the quality of your text isn't that great. You can type with typos. You may not spell everything correctly. It may not be grammatically correct. But if you can have the correct spelling, you can have the correct grammar and all that kind of thing, that's going to improve the performance and specificity of the model. Now, here's the interesting thing. You may not be the best at writing and typing, but you can actually help yourself by getting the bot to help you give it what it needs. So let's get started here. I'm going to do something very simple. I'm going to just introduce myself to the bot. Hello, my name is Ozie. I would like help deciding the best way to apply for grants. My funding opportunities should be based on music. Okay, now you can see I've got some typos in here on the bottom, and I kept those typos in here for a good reason. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up a alternative session of ChatGPT. Just a second here. And I'm kind of going a little advanced here, but I'm going to say, spell check this. Now, keep in mind, when you press enter, it goes to the bot. So if you don't want to press enter right away, you can hold down on the shift key and press enter, and it'll allow you to do new lines. Okay, like that. And of course, you can use this little white button over here to submit the prompt. So I say spell check this, and automatically the bot gives me the corrected version of this typoed thing. So again, if you want the quality prompts to the bot, you want to use this feature to, before you even ask it your main question, you have it spell check. Now, it spelled my name wrong here. And I will say ChatGPT does make mistakes. So, you're the boss here. Treat ChatGPT like a senior intern or employee at your company. Yes, he's going to do the very best job that he can. But it's up to you to make sure that everything is kosher in terms of how you actually get it. So I'm going to come back over here, cut and paste the corrected prompt and correct my name. And I'm going to submit this prompt that's asking for the best way to apply for grants and grant opportunities based on music. As soon as that comes up, you'll see the chat bot automatically start to give me a plan. He's telling me to identify my needs. He's telling me to research grants. He's going to give me, the best way uh, to get my proposal together. As you can see, he's automatically coming up with a full-fledged plan. And of course, I'm saying he, but ChatGPT is a gender neutral bot, so it could very well be she for you or they. But I'm I guess because I'm a man, I'm saying he. Now, here's the interesting thing. Once ChatGPT has outlined the plan, keep in mind that he does have a certain amount of memory. As you go through texting the prompts, the bot will eventually forget further down the conversation because it only has so much that it can do in terms of actually being able to remember the prompts that you say. So it's important that as you're moving along, you make sure that you don't veer too away from the subject matter. But there's a way to get around that too that I'll show you in just a little bit. Okay, so now here's the things that is identify. Identify your needs. I need money for music. research grants, prepare your application, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to use this outline here to actually start applying for a grant. The first thing we want to do is we want to research grants. So here's what I'll say to the bot. Please research music grants online and find me some opportunities. I'm a horrible speller, so bear with me. Okay, here we go. And as soon as I do that, now granted, this is version 4, so version 3.5, the free version won't be able to do this, but as you can see, it started to think and it immediately went to go find grant opportunities. So a lot of times the research for funding is limited by not knowing where the funding even is to begin with. Now, this prompt that I gave to it for researching opportunities was very generic. I could have said, please research grant opportunities for Black composers. I could have said, please research music opportunities in California. I could have said, please research grant opportunities that are rewards of over $100,000 or more, or micro grants that are $1,000. So again, the specificity is what's going to determine how the bot is able to react to you. Now, once the bot has identified grant opportunities, it provides these little links. They look like little quotes. You would be able to click on that quote, and for example, it would take you to the national, in this case, the National Endowment of the Arts. It will show you where it got the information from on the internet. Here, the Dolly Parton grant. So now that we've identified some grants, we could potentially apply for these. In our particular case, I am going to be applying for this grant opportunity through Hello Alice. Now, Hello Alice is a great place to get grant opportunities. It is helloalice.com. Again, you can sign in with your Google, and that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to go to funding at the top and say view grant opportunities. And let's say I wanted to apply for the American Dreams Award for small businesses. Here's some details of the grant, and then I can click on apply now. Now, in my particular case, because I've applied for Hello Alice grants before, some of the information is already pre-populated. You know, they've got some demographic information here. They've got some different things about my particular business interests. Of course, I would have to go through and check off what's most relevant for me. But the part that's going to be most relevant for ChatGPT are things like this, the award narrative. Now, the narrative of your grant is really what decides whether or not you get the money, because obviously you're talking to human beings. So you want to give them the information that they're requesting in terms of the specifics of your business or the specifics of your organization or yourself. But you want to tell it in a way that's emotionally impactful. So we have these questions. These questions are actually going to become our prompts to ChatGPT. The first question is, tell us more about you. What inspired you to become a small business owner? What's motivating you to apply for the American Dreams Award? Okay, so let's go back to ChatGPT. And we're going to give him these questions. But before we give him these questions, I want to give him some information about me. So here's a trick that I've learned. One thing you can do is you can upload your resume. So I'm going to go here to documents and I'm going to upload my resume. I already have it in PDF form, but it can take Word documents. It can take any of those. And I'm going to give it a prompt now. I've uploaded my resume. Please write a story or narrative that introduces me in an impactful way. Notice I'm being very descriptive. I'm telling it what I wanted to do. And I should also tell it, please read it and write a story or narrative that introduces me in an impactful way. I've uploaded my resume. I'm going to click submit. And now ChatGPT is going to read my resume. And he's introducing me. Now, normally when we write resumes are itemized lists, but this is a story. This is a story. He's talking about my music. He's talking about my education. He's talking about my experience in AI, et cetera, et cetera. It's a pretty brief response here, but it's enough to get us started. So one thing now I can do is I can go back to this grant and I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to find that very first question, double click on that, Control C on my computer, coming back to ChatGPT. I am applying for the American Dreams Grant with Hello Alice. Please help me with my application. I will give you the questions, and based on my resume, please answer them on my behalf. Notice I'm talking to ChatGPT just like I would a regular person. If this was an intern or an employee at your organization, you say, hey, this is what I need you to do. I need you to read my resume, answer these questions, and then we're going to review the application together. And then once we get everything good, we're going to submit it. Same thing here. Tell the bot exactly what you want it to do. Treat it as if you're in the privacy of your own people, your own company, your own organization. These chats here are just between you and the bot. So you can give it the information and ask it very plainly what you want it to do. And then I'm going to say, here's the first question, colon, shift, enter, and then I'm going to write the question there. And notice that I've also kept all the information about the maximum number of words and characters. ChatGPT can be verbose. In other words, he can detail the full outline like he did up here. And sometimes that's too much text. So if you only want so many words, tell him only so many words, only so many characters, and that'll help him give you responses. Okay. Now, the question was, tell us about you, what inspired you to become a small business owner, and what's motivating you to apply for the American Dreams Award? As you can see, he says, my journey into entrepreneurship is deeply rooted in my passion for music and technology. From a young age growing up in Detroit, I was inspired by the city's rich musical heritage and technological advancements. My education path, marked by significant achievement at the University School of Music, laid the foundation for my dual career as a composer and a technological innovator, et cetera, et cetera. So now this is the kind of language that the Hello Alice grant reviewers would want. And I have this information authentically based on who I am, but you notice ChatGPT was able to help me find the right way to say it. It's a direct answer to the prompt that was given to me. So now what I can do is I can click on this little icon here for copy. It copies, and I can go back over to the grant, and I can paste this right in here. and boom, I'm automatically on the road to solving the problem of having my grant application done here. Now, we've got 3 more questions here. In which reward categories or categories is your business seeking recognition? And now this, of course, presumes that I have already looked at the grant and I know which reward categories that I want to do. For now, I'm going to just give this prompt to ChatGPT generally. I'm going to close some of these tabs so I can get over here just a little quick. Thanks. Here's the next question. Notice I'm just typing the questions in. And again, he produces the response. So I can copy that over. Now, sometimes when ChatGPT gives you a response, you might not like the response. You may say, I think we can do a little better. There's a couple ways to advance the bot in that way. The first is this little regenerate button. What the regenerate button does is it's a quick way of saying, that was okay, but please try again. Give me something different, okay? The alternative, and it'll ask you which one is better or worse. You might say, okay, this is a better or worse, or it's the same. They use that information to help train the bot continually so that it can give better responses. Then I might say, this is okay. Please focus on technology as the category. And it's going to regenerate the response based on my instructions to it to increase the focus of what we're actually trying to do. You see what I'm saying? And so I could take this response now, copy it, move back over to Hello Alice, boom. And then the last question, of course, we're going to cut and paste this. In what way would being honored with the award influence your business, and what kind of inspiration would it provide? Now, in this particular case, I'm going to say, here's the final question. I'm going to be a little more specific. Please answer with respect to inspiring my community, the Black community of Los Angeles. I'm going to say because that's where I am, although I'm in solidarity with Black people everywhere. And boom, it begins to answer the question, and with particular regard to the Black community in Los Angeles. So just here in this short period of time, we've seen several things. And I'm gonna presume this response is good. Normally, you don't want to just copy and paste whatever ChatGPT is saying. In real life, if I were using this for a grant application, I would be very diligent in reading the responses, seeing if they're exactly what I want to say. We might go through several drafts of it, but I'm just showing you the ease with which you can get a quality response with simple prompts. So we're just going to copy this here and bring it over to here, and boom, that would be what we can do with our grant application. And to the question as, is this cheating? Absolutely not. I recently attended a Zoom session with the director of the grants program at Hello Alice, and she was asked this exact question: should we use tools like ChatGPT to apply for funding? And she said absolutely yes. As a matter of fact, there is another funding source called Skip Grants, helloskip.com. And let's say, for example, if you sign up on this website, it'll give you this whole list of different grants that you can apply for. I'm going to say, let's apply for this one. And of course, since I've applied for grants here before, some of my answers are pre-populated. But as you can see here in these two prompts, this is asking me a question. Now, normally I would take this right here, highlight it, and copy it over to ChatGPT. But Skip Grants has a feature where they will actually generate it with AI for you. Now, it's a paid feature, but still you could use the AI on their platform to actually start writing grants. All right, so let's go back over here to ChatGPT. I think I'm getting an important message here. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna increase the size here. I think we got a communication that the text was a little small, so hopefully this makes it a little easier to read. I apologize for anyone who hasn't been able to see what we're actually typing here and what we're doing. I know that's important. So yes. Now, when you're typing your responses to ChatGPT, the other thing to keep in mind is that, again, I say the narrative, the further and further you go down, the less and less it remembers previous responses. Okay, so this itinerary that we outlined at the beginning, when I first told it that I wanted to write a grant and to outline something for me, it may not fully remember that all the way down here. Now, granted, we haven't moved too far, so I'm expecting it to remember this. But I want to show you another thing that you can do to take advantage of the prompts that ChatGPT has already given to you. So let's say, for example, I want to go back up here to the beginning. And just to review the question, I said, hello, my name, I'm Ozie. I didn't really quite say that right. I would like help deciding the best way to apply for grants. My funding opportunities should be based on music. And then he identified all of these rubrics. What I can do now is go to my response after that, where I said, please research music grants online and find me opportunities. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little button here, which is looks like a little pencil. And when I click on that pencil, what it allows me to do is to edit what I said there. Now, what this is going to essentially do is start the conversation, though, from the past. So let's say, for example, I want to ask, preparing my application. This is number 3. I'm going to say, please explain item 3 more. What are the best practices for preparing? And submit. Now, chat is going to go from the response that he gave, and he's going to answer from that point forward. And you can see these little numbers here at the top. I will be able to go back to my previous. So the chat sessions are kind of like, you could say, a tree structure where you can branch off into different parts of the conversation and go back to parts of the conversation that were really relevant to you. Now, of course, as you're moving along, the conversation thread might get really long. So at any point, you can start a new chat session. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm going to go to a new chat session, is still generating here, is I want to take the understanding from this chat session and put it over to another chat session. So I will say, please create a summary of our conversation today. To catch another session of ChatGPT up on it. Here's a little typo I have. I'm in the Bing browser, which has this feature where it will correct. Again, you want to try to give it as clean of a text prompt as you can. And boom, it begins to generate what we were talking about in this conversation and how that would be relevant to another session of ChatGPT. Now, you notice the way he's creating this is he's speaking back to me, says, today we discussed. I could, once it's done generating the response here, I could say, please reformat this as a prompt to ChatGPT to get it started. So this response is good, but if I paste this to chat, it's going to be like I'm jumping in the middle of a conversation. But if I want a prompt that says, you know, I need help, and I should even specify that the prompt should let ChatGPT know what I want from the I perspective. Now you notice I'm being real detailed, but that's because I use this bot extensively. As you can see here over on the left-hand side, I've got a gazillion chats about a gazillion things that I've talked to the chat about. So, you know, I'm a veteran ChatGPT user at this point. But I'm gonna click up here to version 4. And boom. Oops, I forgot to copy my prompt. So let's go back over here on the left-hand side to the last chat. Click on, I think I didn't actually submit it to chat. So let's actually go and submit that information. Okay, and I've got a request here to recap and review what AI is. As we're doing this, I'm gonna go over here and type my new prompt, and it'll tell the new session of ChatGPT what I'm trying to do. AI stands for artificial intelligence. I've never really liked the term artificial intelligence because I don't think intelligence can be artificial. I think that is sort of um, the arrogance of humans to think that our intelligence is the only real intelligence and everything else is subpar. I told you that I'm an author. I'm an author of the book called The Laws of Consciousness, which teaches that the universe itself is intelligent and everything, including all the forms of life and even things that we don't think are alive, are expressions of intelligence. That being said, perhaps a better term for AI would be machine learning. It is essentially mathematical equations and computer algorithms that aggregate intelligence and present it in a form to humans that's very akin to our interactions with ourselves. So, for example, ChatGPT is a text generation AI. It's a text generation machine learning platform. What essentially has happened is a bunch of text from the internet was compiled by the engineers at OpenAI, and then they created a mathematical equation, an algorithm called a transformer that takes the text and weighs how important the words in a sentence are to one another, regardless of the order in which they come. And based on how important those words are in the sentences, it creates percentages for what's the most likely word to come next. And if you train that on millions of examples, then the bot, in this particular case, the machine, will learn to generate a response that is statistically more likely. The same thing happens with images. We're able to take images and feed it into a bot, and it looks at the individual pixels and determines what groups of pixels are statistically more likely to be next to each other. And when you put that information together, it looks like an image. To the machine itself, it's all numbers. So chat doesn't actually think in terms of text. He thinks in terms of numbers, but it's presented to us as numbers. So that's really what AI is. So for example, to demonstrate some of the advanced features of AI, I can ask, I say, please generate a picture for my grant application, a Black man conducting an orchestra in his community. Now, ChatGPT should know what a Black man is, but I could be very specific. I could say an African American, and he might get that. I'm not sure how he would respond to just Black man, because the word Black could be sort of universally applied in a lot of different ways, although we know Black is just Black. But this is more specific. Let's just see what it does. So ChatGPT now is creating an image, and this is the same kind of technology that the transformer uses. Now, the image generation process is based on a slightly different algorithm, but it's still based on the idea that it's been fed a lot of different images, and it's going to take those images. Okay, so now here we have a picture that has been generated of a Black man, African American, conducting an orchestra in his community. So for those of you who need images to go with, not, maybe not a grant, because usually don't submit images with a grant, but let's say you're trying to get your website together, and you're going to use ChatGPT to help you come up with the content for your home page and your bio page or your blogs. You're going to be doing, social media posts. I could take this picture now and post it to Instagram. And a lot of the pictures that you see on Instagram and Facebook are AI generated these days, but they can be very specific to, what you need to do. You can even take these images and download them. So for example, there's a little icon here. I can download this image straight to my computer. It's going to be in the WebB format, which is a new format, but I believe it can certainly be read on the internet, and there's probably a plugin for like Photoshop to read that format as well, or convert it. But as you can see, this is a feature, in the ChatGPT space that you can use. So I've covered a lot here. I want to keep track of the time. It's now 10:44, so we've been in here 44 minutes. I have not really attended to the chat section, so I apologize for that. I am at this point going to stop sharing my screen and come back to you all in my face-to-face form. This will allow me to see the chat section more definitively. And at this time, I would love to get your questions. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat. I noticed there's a beautiful conversation that's been going on here, and most people came in with limited experience. So if you have a question, please write them down. Were your answers generated from your resume? Yes. Okay, so to recap about the prompts are generated based on the text that you provide. Now, in my particular case, I had already done the due diligence to have a resume to present. But let's say I didn't even have a resume. I just decided to describe myself. And I just put that in the chat and said, okay, ChatGPT, I need you to write me a resume. I have experience in music, boom, boom, boom. I went to this school, et cetera, et cetera. Then chat will write a resume. I could save that resume. And then for future sessions with ChatGPT, I would be able to resubmit that. So prompt engineering is about getting the relevant information that you need in order to give it to the bot. Think of it as a kind of hypnosis. So hypnosis is the art of suggestion. You know, if I say something to you and I put in the idea of something, then your response to me, your mind is going to start thinking. If I say, okay, now everyone, let's think about how great it would be to be at the symphony, or let's think about how great it would be for AI to be able to write our grants with us so that we can get the funding that we need for our businesses and ventures. Now your mind is literally on that. And as you respond to me, you can be responding in kind. So ChatGPT basically works on that principle. You want to get the bot trained in the thought process. And if you observed on the side of my ChatGPT session, there were a lot of conversations. Sometimes those conversations flow different ways. Depending on what I said, I might get a conversation where ChatGPT is really answering the questions the way that I need him to. He's very specific. And that I've hypnotized the model correctly. And then sometimes it's just really very generic and bland, and chat's not giving me the specificity. If you find that the model is not giving you the answers that you want, it's probably because you're not asking the questions. So in this particular world, the question is the most important thing. The more specific the question, the more detailed and direct the question, the more detailed the response is going to be. Do we have any other questions in the chat here? Can you recap the importance of taking responsibility for the final product? Wow. So you are the master of this particular venture. You're going to be responsible for the responses that ChatGPT gives to you. So again, you don't want to just copy what's there. You want to vet what's there. And sometimes it's a formative process. So one of the things that I use ChatGPT for is to help me write code. I'm a C++ programmer, but a lot of times the projects that I want to write are beyond the scope of what ChatGPT can handle. So I work with the bot in different sections. But as we're generating the code, I, as the programmer, have the final responsibility of making sure that the code is correct, that it'll compile on my machine, that the math is right, that kind of thing. And sometimes what I'll even do is after ChatGPT has generated one response, I'll open up a new session of ChatGPT and say, hey, check this and see if there are any errors. And then ChatGPT will check its own code and start finding the errors. And through that process of going back and forth with the bot, I can refine it. In the same way as if you were applying for funding using the bot to help you generate your answers, you might create a response and then you take that response over to another session of ChatGPT and ask, how could I better refine this prompt to answer this question? What are the specific things that a grant reviewer might be looking for that's missing from this response? So you want to be really critical in your thought process. The next question, how can you start using ChatGPT? You want to go to chat.openai.com. And I don't know if anybody posted that, but I'm going to put that in the chat section right now. you definitely want to go to chat.openai.com, click sign up. You can sign up for the free account. The free account doesn't have internet access. It can't generate images, but it can still respond to you and help you generate your prompts. And the paid version is, yes, $20 a month at this time. Can you suggest what applications, website development, grant applications, and business development would be good starter projects? I think that's kind of a twofold, because in my mind, when I hear the word applications, I always think software, but applications also referring to funding applications. I would say, again, go to Hello Alice, go to Skip, go to the government websites, the National Endowment for the Arts. Actually, there is a database of government grants. I forget the exact name of it, that the government is always, allocating funding for different kinds of things. I think the application of what you need ChatGPT for really has to do with anything where you have to generate text. So for example, email. Let's say you're trying to do a follow-up email from a business meeting that you've had, or you want to inquire, to the organization that's going to be giving the grant, and you need a eloquent response, or an eloquent introduction. That's a great application for ChatGPT. Another good thing to use this for is resume building and cover letters. So for example, if you need to build a resume of your work, you can easily type a description of yourself, your different things that you've done. It'll generate a well-formatted resume. You all remember back in the day when we were creating resumes and we had to find the right way to say that, I answered the phone. Well, ChatGPT can help you find an eloquent way to say that you answered the phone, or you were out in the community and you help people, as a social worker, or, you're a musician and, here's the impact of your music. And then cover letters, I think, are a really great use for the bot too, because a cover letter is your way of, introducing a application in a succinct way that does give that narrative and that story. So if you already have the resume generated, the bot's already, again, trained, hypnotized with, the words that it needs to say, with your regard, and it'll create that cover letter. Next question. What about the numbers, budget, et cetera, et cetera? Now, this is a very good question. I would say ChatGPT is pretty good at coming up with budgets. So to demonstrate that, I'm actually going to come back to sharing my screen here, because I think this is something that needs to be demonstrated. I have found a grant for $100,000 to help students in the community learn orchestral music. Please create an itemized budget for use with my grant application. How should the funds be used? So chat's going to say, you got $100,000 to help the students in your community. How should we spend that money? And as you can see, he starts going through. He says, hire instructors, $40,000, program director, $10,000, instruments, music, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the challenges a lot of times when you're requesting different amounts of money is, well, how should I spend the money? And especially if you don't have a lot of experience applying for grants, or you don't have a lot of experience applying for the grant in the price range that you're asking for. How often do we get $100,000 budget? And you want to be able to present pricing information and revenue information and all that kind of thing in a way that's realistic based on the standards of our society and what is commensurate with spending those kinds of funds. ChatGPT has that knowledge. I think it's proven if we just look at this budget that the bot has generated instructor fees. We know that a lot of times there's grants, a lot of times a lot of it goes to your operation expenses, the program coordinator. So now if I'm the program coordinator for my music program and I didn't know exactly how much to charge for the services or how much of the grant should be allocated for my services here, the bot has given me a sense. Now, let's say I want to get a little more clarity on the budget. I would say, why should the program coordinator receive $100,000? Is this based on industry standards? Great question. And now he gives me the rationale for that budgetary expense. So when you're applying for funding, a lot of times, it's not just enough to ask for the money. There may be parts of the application where they want you to justify why this amount of money should go to this particular thing. And here you can do this. Now, the other thing is, I don't know if this feature is available on the 3.5, but on the 4.0 version, you could even say, please generate a CSV file of this budget. A CSV file, an Excel file, is something that you could download to your computer, and now you have that budget in Excel. And maybe you want to do some operations. Now you can see the bot doing this weird thing. It has this Python icon up here. ChatGPT is built on a language called Python. So Python is one of the foremost languages for machine learning, principally because there's some tools out there called PyTorch and TensorFlow, which work extensively with Python. These were developed by, I know TensorFlow was developed by Google. I'm not sure who developed PyTorch. But anyway, he uses that. So sometimes you'll see his brain kind of working in the background. But then he says, you can download the CSV file. So I can now download this file. I don't know if you can see it on my computer. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'll see if I can pull it up here on my computer so you can see what it generated, and then we'll get to the next question. Yeah, it did work. This is the CSV file that ChatGPT generated. It's very small. I apologize for that. Let's see if we can zoom in here. That's a little better. And now I can start working with this in Excel. So how hard would it have been to create this Excel spreadsheet back in the day? This would have been 15, 20 minutes alone. Typing this in, getting these numbers in here, ChatGPT was able to do that for me. So I'm going to show you another advanced feature of ChatGPT. I could say generate the budget as a graph. And that's kind of an ambiguous response. But sometimes when you're presenting your grants and other things of this nature, you need graphs. So ChatGPT can make the graph. And as you can see here, we've got my orchestral budget for the music education program in the community. Here are the amounts of money. Here are the different spaces that we want that money to go to. As you can see, most of the money is going to personnel. Then we're going to instruments here, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the kinds of advanced tools that you can use, with ChatGPT to give you everything you need for your presentation. So it's not just about creating the text and the best way to share the narrative of your story that's emotionally impactful and specific to you. But you can also generate the budget, you can also generate the graphs, and of course, as we saw earlier, you can generate any kind of images or that kind of thing. So it really gives you the power to generate everything you need. You just need to know what to ask for. And remember, you are the boss. So don't just take these numbers. As I said before, why $10,000 to the program director? And I didn't read the response there. Maybe I should have. But he usually gives pretty great responses. He's saying this is a pretty pivotal role. So $10,000 is great. So that's that. Let's go back here to the chat section and see if we've got some more
I
questions.
have a question.
Yes, what is your question?
So can you do reverse? Can you load a Excel spreadsheet for your budget and have ChatGPT transfer the data from your grant information?
Absolutely. So if you have the Excel spreadsheet already and you want to upload that to ChatGPT, if you remember, there was a feature, I'll share my screen again, where let's start a new session of ChatGPT just to demonstrate this. And I'm going to go to that budget it generated earlier as the CSV file. And I'm going to upload that budget now, and I'm going to ask Chat, please review this grant application budget for a orchestral music program in the community. Create a narrative that explains its rationale. So why this particular money? And I've uploaded the grant using this little I don't know if you can see it. It's a little paper clip, and then I'm going to give that to ChatGPT. It's going to read the spreadsheet. Again, this Python thing here, this has nothing to do with you. It's just the background workings of the bot. So you can't really do anything about seeing that response. It's just kind of a transparent thing that they're showing. From a computer programmer perspective, I like to see those things. If you're not into coding, then it might be a little distraction for you, but just kind of bear with the mechanics of the bot.
But I meant, could I load a blank template and then ask ChatGPT to load the data into the blank template?
So you wouldn't have to load a blank template.
No, if I
ChatGPT,
had one, if I had a format that was given to me that this is how you have to present your budget, and they send me a Excel spreadsheet to fill out, can I take the numbers you generated there and load them into that spreadsheet?
yes, okay.
Excuse me, Ozie, may I interject for a second?
Go
because
ahead.
we're running out of time. Thank you, Prima, for that question. It was very good. Ozie's chat vision, what you're seeing on the screen is for him. I have asked some of those same questions and I don't get all that coding. So I don't want you all to be afraid or let that set you back because of what you see on his screen. One of the things that he mentioned is that it tailor makes and it learns from you. So I have gotten actual asks, show me an spreadsheet for X, Y, and Z. Show me a this, that, and the other for less than using less than 1,000 characters. You can be as specific as you want and as you can possibly be to get exactly what you want. I have downloaded the budget narratives, etc., right into a blank spreadsheet. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but it has a lot to do with the prompts you use. Practice using prompts. Okay, there's a lot of stuff on the email, on the website that just gives you practice to get what you want. But you can just get the numbers that you can download about to whatever, to a Word document or whatever. You just have to let them know let the bot know what you want. You want a 10-line spreadsheet that says the budget, et cetera, that can be done. But I don't want anybody to get intimidated by what you see on Ozie's screen, because as he stated, he's a programmer, he knows how to use it. But I have never seen the stuff that he has
Well,
on his screen.
I don't know if it may be specific to me, but here's the thing: if you have a format in a spreadsheet form, just tell the bot what you're trying to do. Hey, chat, here is a blank template, and I need to fill this CSV file or this Excel file with the right information. Can you please use this format and fill it with relevant information for my orchestral music grant program? And then he's gonna take that format and do that. The bot is actually very smart. The founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, I saw an interview where he was asked to really describe what this bot is, and he said it's a reasoning engine. So chat is all about logic. If you can give the bot specific instructions for what you're trying to do and articulate it in such a way that would make sense to a human being, 9 times out of 10, chat is going to get what you're trying to say. He's like, okay, you're trying to fill this Excel file with the right information. I can do that. So have confidence in what this is able to achieve. Have I missed any questions?
Yes, you did. There's a question about the confidentiality of the information, and I had asked you before about privacy and responsibility and liability and copy, that sort of thing, in regards to the information that you plug in, what precautions should be taken in terms of not adding personal information. Is just about being a library, et cetera, et cetera. Could you expound on that, please, sir?
Yes. So this is a little nuanced and complicated, but we're gonna break it down. OpenAI instructs you not to put any personal information into the bot. Now, of course, if you're doing budgets and resumes, you got to put personal information in there. So here's the long and short of it is, your chat sessions are only viewable by you and OpenAI. Now, there are millions of users on the platform. It's just like your Gmails are only viewable by you and Google. So I think OpenAI is a pretty trustworthy company in terms of how they deal with the user information and privacy. But your chats are saved on their servers, they're saved on their computers, so they can read what you put into the chat. So if there's sensitive information that you need to use in order to get the chat bot to do something that you wanted to do, fine, use the chat bot in that case, but then afterwards delete the chat. And how do we do that? So when we come over to here, let's say I'm going to create a simple chat. I have sensitive information. All right, now the chat's he's gonna just respond, to this. But let's say this was very sensitive information. Here on the left-hand side, you see these 3 little dots? You're going to click on those 3 little dots and you see you've got 3 options. You can share it, which would send a link to somebody else of this chat session. You can rename this little thing over here so that you can have the ability to change what this says, and then you can delete the chat. And this is the feature that we're talking about. You want to delete the chat, and that way you have signified that this should be deleted. And I do believe, that OpenAI actually deletes the chats. If they're secretly saving them, then, maybe they'll come out in a big expose in 5 or 6 years. But for right now, if you're dealing with sensitive information for your applications, resumes, social security application, whatever you're doing, be mindful that OpenAI can see that information. I don't think there's anybody, going through it to use it, but if it's sensitive, you want to delete it. And now, in terms of the copyright issues, the United States federal government is in an open dialogue with the AI community about the copyright implications of AI. It hasn't really been decided yet at this point in history. Right now, there's a general consensus that the law is eventually going to decide that generative AI, if your content that you're generating is significantly different from the content that it was trained on, then you do have a copyright to it. And this is the general premise of copyright law. As a composer and musician, I get asked this question often, if I make an arrangement of this song, is it a copyright infringement? Well, if it's that song and we know the lyrics and the melody of that song, it's an arrangement and the copyright says that you can't own that song. But if you made a song that was different enough, even if it was inspired by that other song, then the originality of it dictates that it is a new work, and therefore you have the copyright to it. So in the case of ChatGPT, if I'm generating a resume, or let's take it even another step, I'm writing a book. Let's say I want to write a book on orchestration, and I want to use ChatGPT to help me write my book. Depending on the prompts that I'm giving to it, as long as that prompt is unique enough to the character that I'm designing, then I would have a copyright claim to it. But again, it's going to be up to you to do the due diligence that book, for example, isn't, in my case, Sam Adler's book on orchestration. It's a famous orchestration book in the classical music community. If it's just like his book, then no. But was ChatGPT trained on that book? Possibly. ChatGPT has been trained on the internet. So if there's a PDF out there, if it's on Google Books, if it's on popular websites, he's going to have access to that. So if you're writing a book, understand that you need to make sure that the content you're creating is copyrightable. And that's the same standard that has always been. It needs to be original enough so that we can say it's a separate work. And if you use the bot for that purpose, then you should be fine. Otherwise, liability, be attentive to your craft. There was a story that I had heard of a lawyer who used ChatGPT to write the arguments for his legal case, and the bot had made a mistake in citing the law, and the judge penalized the lawyer for that because this was incorrect. And ChatGPT has a very good way of saying the wrong or incorrect information so that it sounds correct. That's probably the charm of it. It always knows how to say it. But again, it's on you. If you're an attorney and you're using this to help you build your case in court, check out the citations of the law. Go to the government websites where the law is expounded, and make sure that the citations are correct. Tenay, you asking a question? You need to unmute.
I'm sorry. I do that all the time. 20 minutes go by and I ain't unmuted. Okay, we are approaching 2:15, which means that we only have about 15 minutes left. For some strange reason, Zoom blanked out my chat. I have like 2 chats. Okay, and I know we've been online for an hour or so. So if your question has not been answered as I specified when we opened up, email us. I put the email to Joint Cities in the chat, info@jointcities.org, because we're going to compile a PDF to accompany the recording of the training. There may be some things that you may think about after the training. We're going to, please give us your feedback, something you will want to know. Thank you all for, there are people that have been sharing information in the chat, like augmenting the training, and I appreciate that. But I don't want you to not have to go away without your concerns being addressed, if that makes sense. Okay, I know he did not touch on everything that was put in the chat, every question, but we want to, especially as soon as possible. I don't know how Zoom works. I'm looking up there and nobody said anything, and I just know that's not true. Luckily, it's me, not Ozie, but I don't know. So if your question has not been answered, please send us an email, info@jointcities.org, and then we'll get those questions answered and sent back to you. So I'm going to transfer back to Ozie. I just want to let you all know that before we close in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Tenay, if I could.
We can unmute. Yeah, so go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ozie, for a wonderful presentation. My question is, are you available to assist any of us who may want to do some additional work with this ChatGPT? Are you for hire? It's Thursday Luncheon Group. We certainly want to spend the dollar in our community as much as possible.
There's a premium on my time, but I will say this: I am here for the community. I feel like this is something we have to do. This is why Tenay and I, originally Mr. Foster had called me and wanted me to talk to Tenay, and we had such a great conversation. She's like, "Can you share this with the community?" And I said yes. Then, so to you, sir, I'm saying yes as well. My email address is ocargile@gmail.com. So that's OCARGILE.
And Ozie, if you could put that in the chat, or Tenay, if you
I
could put
will.
that in the chat. And the other piece is that if your time is backed up, as I'm sure it is, if you have anybody that you work with that you know is competent in this area, that would be a good referral for us.
Also for the record, it's Ozie. I know, the pronunciation is one thing, but in terms of other resources, I'm a YouTuber, so I go on YouTube and I watch videos about this kind of thing. In terms of actual, individuals that, help out in this particular area, I don't know many, unfortunately, which is another one of the reasons that I'm stepping up. So if you need help with this, I'm available. Email me. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be any fee involved unless you really need me to get in there and do some intensive work. But if it's just about sharing information and resources and that kind of a thing, I'm here. I'm here for everybody, because I feel like this is that moment in history where it's a make or break. I remember when the internet first became popular, and everybody was getting their email addresses and everybody was buying domains, and we didn't know what this internet thing was going to be, but hey, get yourself an email address and learn how to do some HTML. And I ended up becoming a web developer, and that was a business for me. So this is an opportunity. This is something we got to share in our community. Tell your friends about it. Tell your business partners about it. Family members, if they're a little intimidated, allow them to get the information that you have, so that you'll be able to have that, as a part of your community, and share the information. Let's share this. let's really share this. Any other questions?
Yes, this is Marcy. I put in the chat. This has been recorded, so how do we view it again or get a copy of the presentation? How do we do that?
So we're going to be posting this on the Joint Cities website.
Okay.
I'm sure Tenay will be communicating via email to get you guys that information. But you know, we're going to upload the video, and you'll be able to go there and view it. So you'll have the information, so you can see this again.
Okay, and also, can you give us? I don't see that sheet that the your email was oh Ozar. I don't see where your email was. Give me that again. OCARGILE dot what? Your
Okay, I'm
email.
sorry. I've been posting to the chat just to Tenay. Sorry about that. I'm hopefully everyone can see this now. Is O Cargile. So Ozie Cargile is my name, Ozie, and O Cargile, CARGILE at gmail.com is my email address for since forever.
Okay. Thank you very much. This was very informative.
Yeah.
Very, very educational.
And I'm gonna put the ChatGPT website again because that was something that I posted earlier. Chat.openai.com. Here's the thing, since we're winding down, I would just say, you know, this is jump in the water to learn how to swim. You know, but you got a life jacket on. You can't drown. Go to ChatGPT and have a conversation. You know, the bot is very friendly. It's very helpful. It's never gonna get tired. It's never gonna ask you, well, why are you asking that question again? I answered that before. You know, there've been sessions with ChatGPT where I kept asking follow-up questions until I got the understanding. You know, one of the things you can use this tool for is educational purposes and research.
Right.
You want to understand the subject matter and you need somebody to break it down, and your professors or whoever you're working with don't have the patience to sit with you and learn it, go to chat. Say, hey, teach me how to computer program. Teach me about music. Teach me how to do recipes. Teach me, you know, how to fight the power. You know, give me information and go along with a narrative that will help me fully understand it. So talk to the bot, get on the free version and just start talking. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you will become, and you'll start to develop a sense of the character of the bot. It does have something of a personality. So in the same way, when you're working with a person and you want to ask the question the way that you know you're going to get the right response out of them, you'll learn how to do that, but you're not going to necessarily be able to do that without spending the time with it. So I said, I'm a veteran ChatGPT. I know exactly how to ask the question to get what I want, but that's because I started asking questions just like everybody else and not knowing how it was going to respond. Now I know that part, and that comes from experience.
Okay. I like to close with thank you, Ozie. My apologies if I've mispronounced your name a million times. And also to thank you all for attending this this training. This is the beginning of our year with our collaboration for power and profit partnerships and events, etc. If you all know anybody that can join our groups, the Thursday Lunch and Business Group, send their information to info@jointcities.org. There's a couple people that I know of that can also help. And like Gerald said, we can't be about supporting Black business and not support Black business. Okay, so you all may know somebody who can help with training, et cetera, et cetera. We need to be able to share our resources and our talents, and I need to know where to shop, et cetera, et cetera. That's what it's all about. I also want to add that as AI, whatever questions, limited. One of the biggest benefits I found when trying to do grant writing is like, tell me X, Y, and Z in 30 characters, because they always have the amount of characters that you have to use on a grant application. And by the time you write it yourself, and their answers can be long, but you can tell it you want this answer in the amount of characters for the particular grant that you're writing. Stuff like that, you can get really, really specific. So thank you all very much. Thank you for the presentation. And quickly, Rosa.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, the presentation was excellent, beautiful. You know, I feel confident with it. And, you know, looking at the presentator, beautiful smile, you know, made me relax for trying to try this. But what was that scary? What is that scary thing that everyone talk about on the news that with AI?
So here's the thing. To answer this question briefly, AI is going to change our world. A lot of the things that people are paid to do right now, they won't have to be paid to do those things. So the biggest scare is it taking jobs, it being able, you know, we've got AIs now that are generating movies. So Hollywood is like, how are we gonna keep actors employed and special effects artists? It's a lot of money tied into this thing, and AI is affecting the money. But this is why we, particularly in the Black community, need to get in on AI now. There's nothing going to stop this tool because it's that powerful. You know, eventually, once this becomes used by high-powered corporations and governments, it's going to become the industry standard. So rather than being afraid of it taking your job or it, you know, making things that were once hard really easy, so now everybody can get in on that, you get in on that. You use that ease for the advancement of your agenda. And by embracing the technology early and using it to our advantage, once the industries change and those jobs are gone, and now it's all about AI and prompt engineering, you're able to survive in that economy. You know, the world is going to continue to evolve, but we can't be afraid of that evolution. So as you hear the fear mongering around AI, they always got fear mongering around everything that's new that's that came out. Same thing happened with social media. Well, what's going to happen? And yet there are negative effects of social media, just like people could take AI and do negative things, but we're not going to judge the tools on the usage of the tools. We're going to judge the tools on how they can advance and help us, you know, do the things that are good, that we know are good. And as that force of good, we can take AI in the right direction. But we got to be present. We got to be in the game. So you can't win it if you're not playing.
Okay, so I want to cut us off right now because a couple more minutes, Zoom is going to do it. It'll be a little bit, and they'll be a little ruder than us. So if you all want to continue to talk, we will be cut off automatically, but if it's anybody that has anything that they want to add in the 1 minute that we have, we'll be available. But other than that, thank you all for coming, for chiming in. And let's spread the word on what each of us do, you know, to support each other through our organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So I have 229 on my computer. What do you have, Ozie?
I got 11:28 California time here, specifically.
Okay. So is it anybody that want to squeeze something into this minute? If not, I'm gonna say good afternoon, everybody. Be safe, be positive, and shop Black unapologetically.
Right.
Unapologetically.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much. It's been a wonderful time to share, and I hope this tool gives you that upper edge that you need to succeed.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you. Goodbye.